Hello, everybody. Welcome back. First of all, I apologize that we're back to the desktop camera, which I know the quality isn't quite as good on. But it turns out I was not paying attention and my iPad battery died, and frankly, I just kind of wanted to get this thing done. And there's a whole other thing with the outlets in my room, so it's not easy for me to have it plugged while I record. Anyway, so we're just going to do it with my MacBook Pro today. I apologize for the reverse in quality because I do think that the iPad looks better. But, here we are. I did try to actually orient the camera so I have a bit of a background this time. Now you guys can see a little bit of my studio behind me. I do want to say, coming up hopefully shortly, I will be giving my studio tour because, as I imagine most of you know, maybe not most, but Ashley and I actually moved at the tail end of March, so that this whole space is very, very new to me. And it's a lot bigger, it's a lot nicer, and I'm really excited about it. It's probably the closest thing my studio has ever gotten to exactly how I want it. So I personally like looking at other artists' studios, so I figured, hey, maybe my viewership would like to have a peek at what I'm working with. So anyway, hopefully that's coming soon, but that is not what we are here for today. Today we are here for the response video for the most recent Ask Me Anything prompt. I can't believe that Monday was already 5 days away. It feels like it was just yesterday because time is an illusion right now. But anyway, we've got 4 questions today, 3 of which are from Alex Johnson, who, spoiler alert, Alex is actually a good buddy of mine. He has been a fan of mine for a very long time, very supportive. I can't thank him enough for all that he and his family have done for me. So I'm excited to be able to answer a few of his questions away from a convention table, because that's usually where he and I talk about things. So I'll tackle those questions, and then I actually have 1 or 2 other announcements that I'm going to address at the end of this video, so we'll get to that once all the AMA stuff is handled. So let me just pull up the questions real quick right here, and we will go through them relatively in order. So the first one from Alex asks, how has Bone by Jeff Smith influenced your work? So first things first, I do want to tell anyone who's not familiar with Bone to go check out Bone, again, by the cartoonist Jeff Smith. It is an absolute masterpiece. I don't think I've ever met anyone who has read it who hasn't been in love with it. But yeah, so let me address the question. Most of the answer is going to be pretty inside baseball, so it might be kind of boring or potentially kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Esoteric's probably not the right word, but anyway. So one of the big, on a very surface level, Bone has been really influential just because Jeff and I have relatively similar art styles, in that we're both fairly cartoony, we're both fairly clean in our drawing style, as opposed to someone like Sean Murphy or something, where there's a lot of like kinetic hatching and stuff like that going on. So a big thing that Bone played a role in was particularly the camping trip arc, the Green Lantern Scouts storyline, because the reality is I don't draw all that much flora and fauna, like trees and woods and things like that. So I didn't really know how to translate things like that into my own art style, right? Because when you look at a tree, unless you're going very iconographic with it, where it's just like trunk, there's a lot of detail going on in a tree, and it can be really easy to kind of get lost in that. So basically, I cracked open my 1-volume edition, I cracked open my artist edition of The Great Cow Race, and I was really looking at how Jeff tackles woodlands and vegetation and things like that. Like, what does he do to make it feel appropriate against his figure work, with the tone of the story, all that kind of stuff, because a lot of that stuff all kind of comes into play, right? Because you could have gone totally like Katsuhiro Otomo style with it, where Otomo's figures are relatively cartoony, at least in their face. Otomo, the mangaka who does Akira, for those who don't know, but obviously, like, his architectural work, his buildings and stuff are like almost like photorealistic, and it kind of lends this interesting like juxtaposition of clean, open line to heavy, dense line. And I didn't really want to do that with the trees and the bushes and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking a lot at Jeff's work there. Other examples are just kind of how he paces his story, the scope of the story, how you can maintain a level of drama, how you can achieve a certain level of drama and suspense and all that kind of thing while still maintaining an all ages vibe. I'm sure that there are probably a handful of parents who have read Bone and did find it inappropriate for their child. I think that's a fairly fringe case. I think most of what Jeff is able to accomplish is very much in line with what would be acceptable for children's media, but it has very, very real stakes and very real tension. So particularly when it came to things like how I handle Bruce's trauma or the fire, when John gets trapped in the fire, things like that, it's a little harder to like give concrete examples for exactly what about Bone I was looking at for that, because I don't think I was really looking at anything. I think it was just having read Bone and internalized it, because I've read it a couple times all the way through. Kind of like through osmosis, I was able to sort of figure out how to tackle that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, that probably pretty much covers it. I'm sure that there's other stuff, his coloring style, which admittedly Jeff doesn't do a lot of his own coloring as far as I know. Most of the colored work, and I've never read the full color version of Bone, but I do know that they have a specific colorist who does all that. But even stuff like that has been kind of helpful for like, oh, okay, so like this coloring style is like acceptable while still able to get across these kind of like heavy themes or whatever. So yeah, I mean, like pretty much everything about Bone has been influential to me in one way or another. Some things obviously more so than others, but like with any great work, whether it's Bone, whether it's Blankets, whether it's Batman Year One, Watchmen, Sandman, 100 Bullets, whatever. All the like truly great things, everything about it is great. So when everything about something is great, you're kind of influenced by it in its entirety. So anyway, that's kind of a very long-winded response to that question. But yeah, mainly just how to translate certain real-world elements into my own art style and have it look right, and also giving me the confidence to tackle headier subject matter while still maintaining an all-ages mood, for lack of a better term. The next two questions from Alex, I feel like are kind of like a 1A and 1B, so I'm going to read them all out at once. Actually, I take that back. Anyway, okay, so the next question is, have I read any of Sheldon Mayer's work, Sugar and Spike, Scribbly the Boy Cartoonist, Three Musketeers, etc.? I find it to be brilliant. And this will be an easy answer. No, I have not. I'm not terribly familiar with... I'm aware of Sheldon Mayer by name, but I'm not terribly familiar with any of his work. But, based on your recommendation, perhaps I will be I mean, I will check it out. It's just a matter of when I will get around to checking it out because I trust you, Alex. And then Alex's final question: are cartoon strips an influence? If so, which ones? Are you familiar with Skippy or Cap, Stubbs, and Tippy? Cartoon strips are. I am not terribly familiar with the ones that you mentioned, but the strips that are influential are obviously Peanuts, Calvin and Hobbes, Walt Kelly's Pogo. Truthfully, like Penny Arcade, even though I haven't read Penny Arcade regularly in probably close to a decade now. But yeah, that stuff is very influential. I would love to look more into Leonard Starr's work. His art is and Winsor McCay, Little Nemo. So yeah, all those things are very influential on me. Obviously, some more clearly than others. But yeah, I definitely became more interested in looking at strip work after I started working on JL8, because I very much come from a traditional long-form comic world, and strips are a very, very different animal. So I realized, hey, I'm not sure if I really know how to tackle this properly. Let me go look at some of the great examples of it and see if I can learn anything about pacing, panel structure, shot composition, coloring, lettering, on and on and on and on it goes. And I do think I managed to learn quite a bit, particularly from Calvin and Hobbes's Sundays, the later era ones, where Watterson was really kind of given free rein to do whatever he wanted, and came up with very interesting, very radical panel layouts for those. And that was very eye-opening. There's certainly more strip stuff I would be interested in learning about. Obviously, Harriman's Crazy Cat being a big one. That's widely considered like one of the great comics of all time. Even things like Dick Tracy, more like adventure strips, Alex Raymond, Hal Foster, things like that. But yeah, time and money. It all boils down to whether or not you have time and money to access all these things and give them their proper shake. But yeah, comic books and comic strips are both very big influences on me. Books more so, just because I've been exposed to more of them. But strips definitely, yeah. And then finally, a question from Grayson Lee. Grayson asks, any update on when the coloring book will be back up for sale? And fun fact, the coloring book never actually went away from sale or stopped being for sale. Granted, I'm glad that you asked this, because that implies that there are probably more people out there who don't know that the coloring book is still available. Coloring books, plural. And the answer is yes, they are still available. I don't actually plan on ever shutting them down, because it doesn't cost me anything to have them available for purchase. For those who don't know, I release some coloring books. They're basically just downloadable PDFs. Pay what you want. You can download them, print out the black and white line art onto some computer paper, whatever, and color them as you see fit. Or if you like to digitally color, you can save the JPEG files or whatever from the PDF and color them that way. They're available on Gumroad, gumroad.com/Yale Stewart, my name, YALESTEWART. And yeah, like I said, they're pay what you want. They're 2 volumes, volume 1, volume 2. Each one is 50 illustrations apiece. Then there's also the collection, volumes 1 and 2, which features all 100 line art illustrations. And like I said, you can pay what you want. Volumes 1 and 2 have a minimum of $1. The collection is a minimum of $2. Not trying to bleed anybody on that. So yeah, if you find yourself bored given the state of the world right now and just wish that you had something to kind of do to pass the time, that was why I made them. People seem to be really enjoying them, and yeah, I hope maybe some of you find them very enjoyable. And kind of on that note, the AMA will end, but I do have those couple other announcements I wanted to make. And the first one being that basically, I'm not sure how many of you know, but Ashley and I have found ourselves in a little bit of a tough spot lately, much like a lot of other people currently. There's certainly nothing unique about our situation. But because of where we find ourselves, I have found it the time to probably have a significant sale to try and bring some money in. And I'm offering 50% off all the prints in my online store. I added, I want to say, 10 or 11 new designs to the store, so there's a bunch of prints now available that have never been available before. Mostly commissions that people have been really keen on. And all that is available at my Big Cartel, yalestewart.bigcartel, yalestewart.bigcartel, BIGCARTEL.com, and you just insert the code Helping Hand at checkout, and boom, 50% off anything in your purchase. So yeah, like I said, I mean, we're not about to go destitute. We're not, hurting for food, but we do find ourselves stretched pretty thin right now because Ashley, unfortunately, has been furloughed, so we're basically down to a single income household, and the unfortunate fact is my income is very unreliable. So we're basically just trying to, batten down the hatches and make sure that we'll be okay for as long as she may be out of work, because we're not sure how long that might be. Like I said, I totally understand that many people are also having a very tough time. I don't begrudge anybody for not being able to kick anything my way. That is totally fine. But if you're someone who's always wanted a print of mine or something like that, now's a good time to get it. 50% off. Doesn't get much better than that, aside from free. And unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever offer them for free. And then the other thing is, basically, I've been doing a lot of reading in quarantine, or the shelter-in-place order, because I'm not technically in quarantine. And I was wondering if you guys would maybe be interested in me doing kind of like a Here's What I Read This Week review, where I do just kind of make a video or something where I sit around and basically talk about the content that I've been choosing to spend my time with. Generally, I don't read things I don't think are good or worth sharing, so it's kind of more like a Yale's Rex kind of video. Anyway, I think it would be kind of fun, I guess. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Oh man. Felt really good, though. But yeah, just thought I'd kick it out there. Figured I'd kind of see if anybody has any interest. If not, no big deal. Just trying to come up with some more content I can kick your guys' way. I'm hoping to get back into posting pages from the creator-owned thing soon. The reality is, this shelter-in-place thing has been very difficult on all of us. It's been very difficult on me. My mental health, admittedly, has not been the best. Not that I've been super angsty and wanting to hurt myself or anything like that, but I've just found it very, very, very difficult to produce quality work. There's been a lot of erasing these last couple of weeks, so unfortunately I haven't really gotten anything to the point where I feel comfortable sharing it, basically. So that's why there's been a bit of a lull in content the last couple of weeks, but I'm working really hard to remedy that. At the very least, I've got some commissions that I'm about to have finished up that I can post to share, but I'm really excited to have you guys see the creator-owned thing. In fact, I'm really trying to get the first maybe 12 to 14 pages ready that I could basically release digitally, again, on Gumroad or something, as kind of like an ash can. Just sort of like a quick teaser for you guys to be able to check it out, see what you think. And I'm talking, fully lettered, fully colored, basically like the finished comic, just the first 14, 15 pages of it or something like that. I'm really excited about potentially having that ready sometime in the next couple months. I don't know how quickly that'll come, but it is something I'm very consciously working towards and excited to share with you all. Anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to pretty much wrap this up. So, yeah, to recap, comic strips are a big influence on me. Bone is a big influence on me in virtually every way. The coloring book is still available at gumroad.com/YaleStewart. I'll probably put the links to all that stuff in the description. There's currently a big sale going on, 50% off all my prints over at yalestewart.bigcartel.com. And I'm working really hard to make sure that there's more content coming your guys' way sooner than later. So it is Friday. That means it is about to be the weekend. I hope everyone has a great one. Continue staying safe, staying healthy. We will get through all this. All right? I am going to go get a drink, probably go pet my dog, and get back to work because it is only 4 o'clock and I still have a lot of things to do. But anyway, until next time, I will see you all later. All right, take care.